Record in the name of Allah the Merciful. Praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and links and peace and glory mercy for the worlds. Muhammad bin Abdullah and company. This story happened on the first day of Ramadan, years 40 and 200 for migration, and the hero of the story is a good man at the age of 86 years. Abu Ghayath was a poor man at that time who had no insurance and no pensions. Had his 3 daughters, his dependents, in addition to his 2 sisters, his wife and her mother, and himself, which he counted 7. Such harsh conditions and extreme poverty that year, especially if we know that the Mecca, not by agriculture and industry, however, has always said, praise be to Allah. Anyway, on the morning of that day, break Fajr only tight shirt with a rope, and then take off the shirt. Plub. A half covered woman came with a dirty rag, paying her shirt, and took the rag. Turn around. Then the woman said, O Abu Ghayath, this 3rd day of no food in it, go live. This is the day of fasting and free. If I stayed patient and I waited patiently, girls and old men cannot afford patience, had weakened and hunger. So seek Allah and get out. Ask us something. Perhaps Allah opens you blank or broken enshrined. For our breakfast, he said. Hopefully I do, and wait for the sun to hali. Was the forenoon. Came out in the alleys of Mecca and its ways. If people had walked away to their turn to fire, nutting tough, free, and intensified, his legs thrust under water to be questioned, his gaze, and I feel his stomach becomes inflamed, inflammation of thirst. And he has been down in Mecca, threw himself under the wall, and it was the biggest wishes, no term dialogued. Get rid of this misery, and obtains and make jokes with his hand in soil as saber and wishes, touching his hand something lin rectangle, dragon view. If it is a sin, I live hidden in the dirt, seek refuge with Allah. Then little comeback, desire death and wish if they bite you take the edge off, and then stated that the believer should be asked to die but should say, O Allah, what life was good to me, and let me die that death was good for me. It said it and pray for forgiveness, let watching return to if it is static, wonder, and touched her with his foot, not moved, searching and digging, if he saw a belt and not alive. So hard it came in his hand, the gold chain purse, when learned timber and weight it was felt, his hunger and thirst had gone, and was force-fed in his temper, and had returned to him, and he conceived would carry to his women full and comfort and convenience, and fills their hands, then they envisage on him, don't know the bliss of life and quality of life, and make them buy. Think about what and how you receive this grace given by Allah, even almost engaging in his mind, then warn himself. Dinah, Washington Secretariat voice tells him that this money is not for you, but you must capture its definition, if their owner had befallen you. Imagine the year length, and is looking for his day's dinner. And you stay alive another year, and keep his family life? What turned out to be gold for him after he died of hunger and mat with share, he felt his powers had suffered, if brought to its help me and iPod, and had not been plagued by the scourge. But he was a man, knows its snapshot to be dead definition, and that is returned to the place he was lost when Allah, if untouched, nothing on it, making ideas collide in the head, and the hair are grappling, rushing around, even temporal bone it will break from ding out the ideas in his head, and he hears a voice shouted to take her. The provision Allah leg here. Pay by death about daughters who are off in death. Satisfy these livers al-Garthi. These bodies barracks. Then if the owner or resounded eyes had paid scant dinars will do no harm to his riches shortage. Then I heard Dynaphone tells him, bear hey man, and do not betray your honesty and intolerance, and resolve to patience, and use the Allah, and went into hiding until her belt circuit. Or Allah, and entered the Dar Spammer, saw his wife. She said, what came to you Abu Ghayath? He said, nothing, and I like to repress news of gold, and repress by something. She said, yes, Allah, to you something. What is it? Feared to see this her court, cut her story. And she was a pious religion, but weaker than the will, and determination on the weakest. Said, open it up and take him to buy dinars as something. We are compelled, obliged to eat dead meat. He feared to see this her court, cut her story. And she was a pious religion, but weaker than the will, and determination on the weakest. Said, open it up and take him to buy dinars as something. We are compelled, obliged to eat dead. He said, no, Allah. While will hunter experienced anyone experience? You were divorced and left Hank an inflammatory outlooking. It takes something from him. He invokes his dependence about plunge solver. And walked into the sanctuary, where a young student Tabari only saved the young I saw Chrysania proclaims, socialized. Pilgrims, who founded me and 000 individual on weaker Allah his reward. He arose from the people of Mecca, Sheikh mechanism of loyalty Far ibn Muhammad, said, "Oh, poor country family, Karsani gravely, his days are numbered, and his waiting, it would fall in the hands of the man wanted in his halo, taking it and return it to you," he said. 100 dinars, he said, "Oh my father, do but slim to Allah Almighty," and separated al-Tabari. I fell in myself that Sheikh is finder's gold. It was taken as I thought. It came down to the Msful Highland door in the hallway. I heard him say, "Oh," to his door she said. "Labbaik Abagiyaf," he said. I found his gold calling him at all. I said, "Charging that make for one thing." He said, "How much?" Said, 10. He said, "We do, but slim to Allah Almighty. Vayish work?" I must reply said to him, "The lowest poverty with 50 years ago, 4 daughters and 2 sisters and my mom, and I endure the 9th people." Abu Ghayyaf that Allah Akram punish them and salutes these selves. You didn't steal it and didn't force him, but Allah is the one who put it in your hands. Don't refuse the grace bestowed by Allah to you. That Allah asks for these women, she said, and looked at the face of the sheikh. I felt it looked at him. He had conceived his daughters naked, hungry and poor old mother to his door and dry her skin on her tibia. It became like a hollow where reluctant Al-Atab breathed the same paper, overflowed as the tear on his old age. Women felt that it increased its greed, and then she saw him frowning and look upon it. I like these notes and retained. But he said the patience of 50 years. He gets lost in the thrill of the day. He is on the brink of the grave, and that Allah will deliver. He receives a traitor secretariat. Either his dependents or Allah or Raven pity them, and then Morocco, badly broken and chic and women on dates took them. And how much people around them to bust tables, scrumptious food, smells of home fragrances while a barbecue. He didn't enjoy it and forget that Ramadan humanitarian and altruistic, and that Allah is what we fasting to hunger, thirst and agony, but for this timely reminder of the optional minimum in hunger, the 4th night spent without food because he left the dates and the defeated to settle for old and girls. Tabari said, "Since tomorrow," I heard Karsani says, "Allah delegation pilgrim shacking up headcount and iPad, who founded me and 1,000 dinars rose Allah reward him weaker." The sheikh said, "O Karsani, had I told you yesterday, I advised you, our poor little udder in Allah, and you said you pay to 100 dinars that fall in the hands of the man afraid Allah Almighty." Refrain. Karsani said to him, "O my father, do but slim to Allah Almighty, then break it up, since the day after I heard this particular appeal calls for concrete." The sheikh said, "Mechanism." Karsani said, "Yesterday from 10, said yesterday the 10th JB10 movie it did not accept, give him 1 DT 10, 10, by half a dinar closeness it irrigates the taxi maker residence and the other half shall for his children." He said, "Oh my father, do but slim on Allah Almighty." He saw the helpless, lost the last thread of sling tilt and suspicion of his daughters and his wife and her mother. And that's 1,000 dinars Karsani prevent paying by hunger, nakedness and death inherent behind, and saw the whole millennium hand. She told him to grab her or push her scant DT, but Allah, and seek the protection of Allah, the account of the mind. And do you buy misery, not Allah? He recounted to leave something for the sake of Allah. Allah will compensate him, leaving him Almian, and said to come get me and Karsani. He said to him, "Walk in my hands al-Tabari." You walk, and they even reached the house. He entered. The sheikh came out and said, "Come on in, Karsani." They entered, breaking sheikh under his black Almian out degree of gross violation. Said, "This Miank." I looked at him and said, "This Miani." Then saw the head close lift, then poured the money in the room and his heart again, and then said, "This is our dinar's hearth." And girls were beholding a crack under the door to gold which in sin color for him, and thought him lost from the earth. As a hungry look to restaurant wishes a world in solid gold man realmian and severity, and put it on his shoulder and heart. looking it out, and haven't looked at the face of the sheik, and has not been in his ear the word of thanks, and she felt like her one abducted heart was sheared off. The vision of her heart flew behind it, and severity of girls and stay in the Hatalashi Dak surprise an amazing thing. So why get off, and it fell down on their faces of hunger and weakness and desperation. Sheik heard movement, considered, if Karsani's back, lifting him his head, looks at what he wants. The first was to introduce him to subduing DT anathema Yaina if it's serious these selves overseeing death, but Sheik was the man who allowed no room his heart to hatred, and asked him about its return. Said Karsani, "Oh Sheikh, Dad died leaving 3,000 dinars, he said. Get out the third band, and deserving people have, after a long voyage and expenditure for your high, did so, and took out a third of a dinar and applied in this Almian. What I've seen since I got out of Khorasan to the deserving man. Now you, Allah bless you." Thayan put him in prince. See, said, "I have gone. What a qual, but Sheikh accelerates behind me." So she went back to him, and he said, "I saw you following us from day one. I knew you knew our top story. I have heard Ahmad bin Yunus al-Arboe says, I heard Helpful says, Abdullah ibn Umar, that the Prophet Allah bless him, and said to age, let me Allah bless them, if Allah hear a gift without question and not foreseeing the same explained to him. He said to me, you are blessed, and have never seen this money nor dictated by a cat. See this shirt? I and Allah to fascinating breaks like that, then take it off. Pray my wife and her mother, my daughters, my 2 older sisters, one after one, then dresses and spent between acquired Zur and ASR, and then come back to open it. Allah who crashed in undergoing picker cakes, deliver a prayer even if we get to the Darao. Hey, Hearth dough and dough, so come all. It took on the north, an Almian solution, and said, open your laps. It simplified my stone, and one of them had his shirt, some crusty knee, spread stone hands. Kiss longer DT, even if X said, this is for you. Even Almian completed it, won every one of them 100 dinars and eaten 100 since then. Morocco, chic women keeping a table as people buy goodies, tables of food, said to his wife, you see, to his door, that Allah doesn't waste pace of iron, that Allah is the most merciful. Hey, Hearth prevented ourselves, Allah with some harem DT over the sheik, then bites and eat out. His wife said, or Abu Ghayath, he said, search. Perhaps in poor people fasting does not find what breaks it. Why is in our food Sheikh Imam Abu Ja'far Muhammad ibn Yarir al-Tabari? Allah has sent us these dinars, empowering them, and wrote science. Then after that is the story that honored her novelty, pleading with the access point for all. And I apologize if any limitations because of electronic translation and hopefully clear meaning. In conclusion, I am honored to join the channel's support and encouragement and closeness to Allah. Allah bless him and bless the prophets and messengers, cleansers. To meet in the next story, I tell you, hello.
خط مائل إلى الأمام.
Gold wave, gold wave.